What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for October 27th, 2022. Before I get into the Eagles news and today's history, give you the quick Sixers update. They lost again. It's starting to get embarrassing. And I watched off and on in that game, but when I did watch, they're not playing defense. The defense is terrible, and I feel that starts with the coach. Doc, I'm looking at you. I don't know. They're halfway. I say give them 10 games. They're halfway. They're 1-4 now. They go 2-8. It might be too big of a hole to jump out of. I don't know. But I think this is definitely lost in the shuffle of the Eagles being undefeated, the Phillies going to the World Series. Lost in all of this is this abysmal, piss-poor start by the Sixers, and it starts with the coach. We saw what happened with the Phillies after they got rid of their manager who was stuck in his ways, living off his past success with a different team with much better players. And all of a sudden now, this is what we're stuck with in the year that is supposed to be the year that it all comes together for the Sixers. You got defensive effort like that. I'll give you, Toronto's not a horrible team. But if you're supposed to be one of the elite teams in the Eastern Conference, you should not look like absolute dog shit the way you did last night. So I don't know if it's time to bring in Sam Cassell. I mean, it's slowly getting that way. And it's just you're wasting a superstar's talent like Joel Embiid because for whatever reason. And if we look back, and I don't want to turn this into Doc, but if you look back at his career, the only time he was super successful was when he had Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. I mean, and then how many times has he choked? How many times has he given up 3-1 leads? I think he's a little overrated. And this start, the way the expectations are for this team, they need to do something and figure it out fast. Enough about that. Big Eagles news yesterday. Coming off the bye week, Howie pulled his Howie magic, and they were able to not only bring in Robert Quinn from the Bears for a fourth-round pick. The Bears agreed to pay for a lot of his salary for this year. Kind of a slow start this year. Part of it is the system that they're running in Chicago, I think. But this guy did have 18 and a half sacks last year. I love the Eagles' pass rush, but they were a little depleted with offsides, Derek Barnett being out for the season. Hopefully this provides them a little bit of depth. Hopefully he's able to work with some of these young guys. He is a 12-year pro, I think it is. So hopefully this is kind of that missing ingredient for the defense because I feel anyway, yes, the offense struggles somewhat in the second half, but there were times where the defense gives up some. I'm looking at the Dallas game, go back to the Detroit game, even Washington to a certain extent, where they allow the teams to get back in the second half. So hopefully this is a piece that's going to help shore that up. I'm excited about it. It's a great pickup for them, especially for what it costs. We'll worry about the contract situation and everything after the season, but Howie will do Howie things. So two opposite sides of the spectrum there, but whatever. Doc, let's go. Get your head out of your ass and do something. And like I said, I like this Robert Quinn pickup, especially for what they paid for him. I don't think Howie's done wheeling and dealing yet. If I know Howie the way he does, he just somehow figures out a way to, I don't know whether he has dirt on some of these GMs, but hey, we'll take it. All right, so this day in Philly sports history, October 27th, 2008. This is going to be our first two-parter. Might be our only two-parter, too. But on this day in 2008, the Phillies looked to start Game 5 of the World Series with a 3-1 lead. And they were looking to close out and win their first World Series championship since 1980. It was a rainy day in Philly that day, but it was very light to start the game, and the heavy stuff wasn't supposed to start till well after midnight when people were celebrating downtown, whatever they were doing. So the game started, first inning, Philly scored. They were good at scoring in the first run that series, if you think back. But in this game, Shane Victorino knocked in 2 in the first inning. Jason Worth and Chase Utley. Hamels was pitching amazingly like he had that entire postseason. This was his 5th start. He did give up a run in the 4th, but the Phils had this 2-1 lead. You got to expect it in a closeout game. They usually go one of two ways. They're either very, very tight and close, like the Padres game the other night, or they turn into blowouts where the team that wins just kind of coasts. This is the opposite, where it was a close game. After the 5th inning, the rain started to get a little crazy. It came in a lot sooner than what was expected. And I remember looking out my window at the time like, Jesus, they're not going to finish this game tonight. But they should have at least delayed the game and figured it out. The one thing that sticks out to me was I remember nobody knew what the rules were in the postseason. Had it been a regular season game, they could have called that game after 5. Game would have been over. The Phillies won. And just the way Major League Baseball bungled that whole thing, nobody knew. The announcers didn't know. The teams didn't know. So instead, they were trying to squeeze the game in, hoping that it was going to stop. So they played the top of the 6th. The Phillies did allow a run. Then they decided to postpone it. So we had a tie game going into the bottom of the 6th with basically puddles. It never should have been played in the 6th inning. And Chase Utley and Jimmy Rollins all said the field was a joke. Like, it was just a complete and total mess. But I just remember being so pissed off that the umps allowed that top of the 6th. I mean, it was obvious to see on TV. You could see the puddles collecting. That they even allowed that top half to begin. And I don't know what the rationale was. And I said Major League Baseball didn't know what the rules were for the postseason or how they were going to handle that. Which thinking back on it, I do agree. You shouldn't call a postseason game like that. You should have to do the whole 9 innings. But back then, this was still old Philly, so that was just Philadelphia's luck. We were all ready to celebrate. Even if they had postponed it with us with the lead, I think we would have been feeling good. But no, here we go. We need to postpone this game. It rained all day then that following Tuesday, which was they weren't able to make it up then. So here we are, stuck in limbo. The Phillies finally trying to win the city's first championship since 1983, and we just had to wait. So on that note, we will pick up with this possibly on Saturday, but we'll see what happens. So as it stands right now, this day in Philly sports history in 2008, Game 5 of the 2008 World Series, Part 1, was delayed in the bottom of the 6th with the score tied at 2 runs apiece. Go have yourselves a Thursday. Be sure to be on the lookout for Back to the Future, my longer pod. We are doing our World Series special tonight. It should be posted later on this evening. So for those of you who like to listen in the morning, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so it gets delivered right to your inbox. That way you'll have something to listen to tomorrow morning with your coffee. But, Doc, you need to get it figured out. I'm liking the Robert Quinn signing. Back to the Future World Series episode coming out tonight. And make sure you're staying tuned to This Day in Philly Sports History to hear what happened at the conclusion of Game 5 of the 2008 World Series. Have yourselves a Thursday. Until next time, I will see you when I see you.